What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to another review, and if you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. In today's video, as you guys can see by the title, I'm going to be doing my review on Black Myth Wukong after like 40 hours. It took me like 40 hours to beat the game, but we're going to be doing our review on Black Myth Wukong. I will like to say that this review is based off of just my experiences, my opinions on how I feel about the game. Your experience could definitely be different than what I experienced with the game. So yeah, but in this video, I'm going to be doing, you know, my usual, the pros and cons of the things that I liked and didn't like. Also, I want to do something else that I haven't done before, which is like a neutral section for things that I did feel like were good, but I did feel like they were like not as great also. So it's like basically in the middle. So I'm gonna have a neutral section as well, and then at the end we're gonna give our final verdict. So yeah, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get started. Okay, so what is the game? What's the game about? What's the goal in the game? Pretty much Black Myth Wukong to me personally is a action kind of game. I know there was a whole debate on if it's a Souls-like or if it's not a Souls-like. There is Souls-like elements sprinkled into the game for sure, but I don't feel like it's enough for me to call it a Souls-like game. I feel like it's more of just an action game as like that of the recent God of Wars. So yeah, but the game is inspired by the Chinese novel Journey to the West. I would also like to say that I will not be talking about Journey to the West in this review because I don't know about it. I never read it. The most I've done with Sun Wukong before this game is watch a video to like understand like who he is and just get knowledge on Sun Wukong as a whole. But I don't know much of anything about Chinese mythology, so I'm not going to speak on that because it's not right for me to speak on that if I don't know anything, you know. But I did see that the Journey to the West, they do have like an animated kind of summary of that journey in the game. I don't want to spoil how you get it because it's a secret way to get it, but they do show that in the game if you do certain things towards the end of the game. But in the game, you play as a monkey referred to as the Destined One, who is pretty much a reincarnation of Sun Wukong. You do play as Sun Wukong in the game, but only in the beginning for the tutorial. After that, you're playing as a totally different monkey who is the Destined One. Pretty much the job, he goes on this journey. His whole goal is to find 5 relics, and there are 6 chapters, and throughout 5 of those chapters, each of the final bosses has a relic that he needs to get from them. So once you get all the relics towards the end of the game, you put the relics come together and a certain thing happens. I don't want to spoil the game, but it's important for the final part of the game. So that is mainly the job of the Destined One, is to mainly just go through and get the relics from these bosses. Now throughout the journey, you will come across a lot of bosses, like a lot of bosses. I'm talking more than a Souls game that you would come across. I'm gonna be honest, like the first chapter felt like every 10 minutes I was fighting another boss, but it was so many bosses. But you do come across quite a few allies as well that can help you out on your journey. Like I said before, it's 6 chapters. Some of the chapters are long, other chapters are short, but the whole game of you beating it and how long it takes depend on how long it takes for you to fight all these bosses throughout your journey in the game. So yeah, but that's pretty much like a summary of the game. And also each chapter has its own story that it's telling too, so that's another positive thing as well, that each chapter does tell its own story. I will speak about that more in a few, but pretty much like I said, that's to sum up the game, that's pretty much what you do in the game. You go on this journey throughout 6 chapters. The Destined One's job is to get these relics from these bosses, and in chapter 6 it all comes together. Also, I did hear that the game takes place after the Journey to the West. Alright, so first things first, I wanted to talk about the things I have in the neutral list. Now, like I said before, this neutral list is pretty much things that I felt was both good and bad. It's in the middle for me. I only have a couple things on this list, but the first thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that the game has no map. Now here's my thoughts about the game having no map. It's good because it gets the players to explore more than if they had a map. Some players would probably just go the main story direction and just not really explore. So it kind of gets the players to explore and like be curious of what's over here, what's over there. And that's good for me because I'm the type of person that likes to explore a lot. And in this game, they do have like quite a bit of secret areas and secret bosses. The bad part for me though was the fact that I had to do so much backtracking, where if I had a map, I would do less backtracking and go into the directions that I've never been before, because I found myself like sometimes not knowing what was the right path and the wrong path, and then next year I go the right path, I'm like, okay, no, let me go back and go the wrong way now. Or it would be times where I would go somewhere and, oh wait, I've already been here before, let me go over here. Oh no, I've been here too, this is just a full circle area. Okay, let me see what's over there. Oh, this is a place I haven't seen yet. You know what I'm saying? And with a map, it would lessen my backtracking to where I could just be like, okay, I've been here and here, now let me go here. So in that aspect, it would have been good to have a map, but I do get why we don't have a map, because they want players to explore. But that's why I have it in neutral, because it was good for the exploration, but for me personally, it was bad because I had to do so much backtracking pretty much. Also, I almost forgot to mention that the game is semi-linear. Some directions will lead to the same path, other directions will lead to a totally different path that may have something useful in that path, or bosses in that path, or something that you could have easily missed. So yeah, the game's not open world, it's not linear, it's semi-linear. So for the next one we have in the neutral is our character being a mute protagonist. Now here's my thing with that, and if you don't know what that means, it means that our character doesn't talk, they don't show emotion, they don't really do anything, they just fight. They are, like, from what I was seeing from my character, he was ready to fight anybody at any time. Every time a cutscene happened, he was just always ready. But with our character being mute, here's the thing, it's good and bad for me, because of the fact that I don't necessarily feel like we need our character to talk the second half of the game, because once we get a companion, like you get a companion halfway through chapter 3, and they basically do the talking for you and tell you things. So I don't feel like we need it for like chapters 4, 5, and 6. But when it comes to chapters 1, 2, and 3, that's when I felt like our characters should talk, because I would have been less confused on what exactly is going on in the stories for chapters 1, 2, and 3 if our characters talk to the bosses and maybe got some answers out of them. So that's why I said it's both good and bad, where I feel like it's not necessarily the second half of the game, but it's necessarily the first half of the game. So this is the whole reason why I have it in the neutral. All right, y'all, so that's pretty much it for all my neutrals. Like I said before, it was gonna be a long list, it was just gonna be a short list, it's just a couple of things. But now let's get into the pros, the things that I really did like about the game. So pro number 1 for me would be the combat. I enjoyed the combat for what it was. It felt smooth, the dodging felt great, the perfect dodging let me know that I perfect dodge and leaves little like shadow clone on behind. That looked pretty cool and that felt great. As far as like the combos, I will say it's not a crazy combo list in this game. Don't expect nothing too much. Don't expect, like, I'll be honest, Stellar Blade has like more combos that you can do in that game than this game, to be honest. But it's not a lot of combos in the game. The different things that you can do per stances, because there's 3 stances in the game that you can choose in between, which is smash, pillar, and thrust. I mainly just use pillar the whole game. I didn't really use smash that much besides the beginning of the game, the gameplay that you're seeing now, and I didn't really use thrust at all. I just like pillar a lot, and I kept using it. But the main difference in between those 3 is like your charge attack and your heavy attacks that you do. They're different in that way. And then you have a focus meter where your charge and heavy attacks will do something different depending on how high your focus meter is, how many points. Like if you have a 3 focus meter, it's fully charged, it'll do something different, and then 2 and then 1 they'll like basically the impact of those heavy and charge attacks reflect on how high your focus meter is, and then you'll do, like, when it's fully maxed out, you'll do like something really cool. But other than that, that's the main difference in between like all 3 of the stances with the combos. Like I said, it's nothing crazy, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Me personally, I don't really feel like the game needs a crazy combo list, considering the fact that there's a lot of bosses that's not going to even let you get those combos off. You're only going to be able to attack them like 3 times before they start retaliating, and then you got to start dodging. So then unless you want to take a hit, you're not really going to pull the combo off. There are some other bosses though that you can stun like crazy and combo like crazy, but like I said before, me personally, I don't feel like you need a whole combo list. Like I said, I enjoyed the combat for what it was, with, like I said, the light attacks, heavy attacks, all that, just some simple stuff. That's all I really need. So that's why I'm putting it in my pros, because I enjoyed it. So for number 2 we have on this list for the pros is bosses. Honestly, there is a lot of bosses in this game, like a lot of bosses in this game. Like, so I seen someone say that the game feels like a boss rush, and I can see that, because it felt like, especially in chapter 1, 5 to 10 minutes after I was done beating one boss, I was fighting another boss, and then another boss, and then another boss. It was like boss after boss after boss. But I do like that though, because I'm the kind of person that likes to fight bosses. I like the challenge of getting past this boss and beating them. There are some really good boss fights with quite a few of the bosses in the game too, so I enjoyed those boss fights as well, especially a couple of the secret bosses. You do feel pretty, in my opinion, I did feel rewarded for beating these bosses, because some of these bosses, especially in the final bosses for the secret areas in each chapter, they give you like vessels and stuff, or like not even stuff, they just give you an item to help you with the final boss of that area, which would make that boss more difficult if you didn't have that item. So those bosses felt rewarding for sure. Other bosses felt rewarding in a way of like they're giving you material that you need to craft armor, better armor, or upgrade your weapon. So like I said before, I enjoyed the challenge with the bosses. There is a difficulty spike in some of these bosses, because for me personally, chapter 2's final boss was the boss that gave me the most trouble. Like at the start, I didn't really have trouble with any other bosses in chapter 1 and any of the bosses in chapter 2 before that final boss chapter. So that was like my real challenge. So there is like some difficulty spikes in some of the bosses that you come across, but I enjoyed those fights for what they were, so that's why I had to put it in the positives. Now number 3 we have on our list is exploration. I know I said something about the map earlier, but that was purely just about having no map. This one's just about the exploration that we have in the game. I enjoyed it a lot. I felt rewarded for exploring, honestly. I felt rewarded for going off the main path and going the wrong way and going to the different areas that they have, because you can find things like, you can find items that can increase your health or your mana or your stamina by exploring. You can find secret bosses that can give you things by exploring. You can find secret areas by exploring. Even these secret areas have places that you can explore and bosses that you can fight in those areas if you explore those areas as well. So there's a lot of exploring that you can do in this game, and I'm the kind of person that if a video game allows you to explore a lot, I'm gonna do it. I get addicted to exploring all the areas. That's just me. But I felt rewarded for doing so, because I was finding things that I wouldn't have found if I did not explore. So I have to put the exploration in the game in the pros, because I enjoyed it a lot. So next we have the in-between like artwork and stories that they did. So as I mentioned previously, in between chapters it would be like a resting period where they would like show us some sort of like animated story, whether it'd be like an old animation or kind of like a cartoonish Chinese animation, but they looked pretty good. They were telling us a story in between each one. Each art style was different too. So like I said, it felt like a resting period where we just got to finally just sit down, rest, and they would just tell us a story of like whatever. Some of the stories would be about the previous boss that you fought, and other stories would be about just like not really about what you did, but it'll just be some other kind of story, maybe about greed or some sort of life lesson or something like that. So I enjoyed them. And they had like after those stories, they would have a poster that you could go around that poster, and they would tell you like about certain things on the poster too. The posters look fire as well. I would definitely hang those up on my wall. I enjoyed that whole in between section a lot. I think that to me is one of the best parts about the game, is in that those whole in between sections of each chapter. So I'm definitely putting this on my positives for sure. Number 5, pretty quick one. I enjoyed the different armors that they had in the game. They had armor sets, so you had like each armor set had like at least 1 or 2 perks to them, and you had to wear a certain number of that armor in order to activate that perk. So a lot of armors would be like, if you wear 2 pieces, you activate the first perk, and if you wear 4 pieces, you activate the second perk. And so I think there's only one armor piece that had 5 armor pieces to it. Like it was like a 5 set, and that would include the weapon. But other than that, the armor pieces, the armor sets, they looked pretty cool. They had perks for like resistance and fire, resistance in poison, or resistance in chill, which is cold, stuff like that. So I did enjoy that, crafting the armor, and you can upgrade the armor too. I will talk about that part a little on later, but I did appreciate the fact that you can upgrade your armor as well. But I enjoyed the armor sets of the game for sure. So the next one would be that you can craft and upgrade newer weapons. Now it's not too many weapons that you can really get in the game. It's mostly all staffs, and for the most part you're just going to be upgrading your existing staff that you started the game with, because the existing staff that you started the game with has like the best upgrade for the game. So you would just upgrade to that point, but you have to find certain material and fight certain bosses in order to upgrade to that best staff. But yeah, you can upgrade different staffs. There's like some staffs you can find through boss fights, through a crate, doing certain things. You can also get a spear as well, and that spear goes really good with the thrust stance, because it's a spear. You would thrust with a spear. So there's a whole nother weapon that you can get as well, which is the spear. But with him being the reincarnation of Sun Wukong, you pretty much are just going to be using the staff the entire time. It's not like you're going to be using an axe or a battle axe or like dual wielding or anything like that, because at the end of the day his main weapon is a staff. So you're just going to be crafting newer staffs, so upgrading staffs, and I do appreciate that they put that into the game. I also appreciate the fact that even though the downside is when you upgrade to a certain staff, you can't just go back and click on a previous staff if you don't want that upgrade anymore. You have to downgrade to the staff that you previously was at. The good thing though is that it doesn't cost as much material to downgrade as it's to upgrade. It costs way less. So that is the good thing. So you're not spending a crazy amount of material and like money on downgrading and upgrading. I mean, yeah, on upgrading and downgrading. It's just, you just spend the normal amount to upgrade and then spend way less to downgrade. So I appreciate that for those people who may have crafted and be like, I don't really want to use this. I had that moment, I'm like, I don't really want to use this. I want to go back, and it didn't really cost that much to go back. So I do appreciate that. Next up, we have the spells. There are spells in this game that you can use to help you like fight enemies and bosses. Some spells may not work on certain bosses, so you have to utilize other spells or do other things. But the spells, they are pretty fun to use. I'm not gonna lie, I use Immobilize a lot. That's my favorite spell, where you just freeze them into place and you can get hits off them, and then you can just either like break it and do big damage, so you hit them with a big attack, or they'll be stuck to a point where they'll just like keep them there for a long period of time, then they'll automatically break. But I like that spell a lot. Cloud Step can save your life quite a bit. You like basically teleport either behind the enemy, close to them, or you could just dash away from them and go invisible, and they'll just be attacking like a clone that you leave, while you can heal up and like prepare your next attack. Then you have Pluck of Many, where you can it's like clones of your, so I think it's like what, 5 clones that you can I think it might be like 6 clones that you can use. I didn't upgrade that one all the way because I didn't use it that much, but I think it's like 6 or 7 clones that you can summon at one time to attack one enemy or attack a bunch of enemies. So that's pretty cool. And then you have your transformation spells. The transformation spells save you so much. Like, oh my god, like the transformation spell with the the wolf that you get, the fire wolf that you get at the beginning of the game, I use that like half of my game, and that transformation saved me so much because it's so good. But there's also other ones you can use too, like spirits. There are spirits you can use, which is like a brief transformation where you transform into a certain enemy that you fought, and then you do like just one attack and then you transform back. That one is pretty useful as well because it has different abilities. The one I used was like the headbutt one. It does big damage, and it's great for bosses too because it knocks the boss down or staggers them for a brief moment. But yeah, all the spells in the game that I've used, there's more than that. There's like Ring of Fire. There's a spell that you can have where it blocks off all other spells but increases your damage. There's so many different spells that you can use in the game, and it's really fun to use. So I gotta put spells in the pros as well because they were all pretty fun to use. So the next thing I wanted to put in my positives is the skill trees. So with the skill trees, there's like different skill trees that you can put skill points into. Like I said before, when you gain XP, and when a meter fills all the way up, you get a skill point. You also get skill points from finding like meditation spots. Each meditation spot gives you at least one skill point. But yeah, there's different skill trees. You have a skill tree for each of the stances that you can use for like smash, pillar, and thrust. You have you can put skill points into increasing your health, your stamina, your mana, attack, defense, stuff like that. You can put skill points into upgrading your spells. Each spell has their own skill tree that you can like go down the list and like get put your skill points into like increasing this spell and having it either do like the ability lasts longer, or maybe it does more damage. It helps out in some sort of way to max out the skills that you really are using. Also your transformation have skills as well, have skill like a skill tree as well, where you can you can put a skill point into just that transformation where it can increase whatever like type of damage it does, or whatever the ability is that you use in that transformation. But then they also have a little skill tree at the bottom of those that is for like any transformation that you use, where you can increase your attack or you can increase the defense in the transformation, have the transformation last longer. So there's, like I said, there's different skill trees, and I like the fact that like you're always gonna have a skill, you're always gonna have some sort of like skill tree to put a skill point into. So it's like you're never gonna get to that point where you just got everything, especially in your first playthrough. You're never gonna get to that point where you just got everything, so you do have to be selective on what you want to use. But I do appreciate the fact that they gave us like all our spells that we can upgrade and our transformations that we can upgrade, and you know, we can get better moves for our different stances and stuff like that. So I do like that they put that in the game. The next thing that goes along with the skill trees is the fact that they give you the ability to upgrade different stats. So like I said before, in your skill tree you can upgrade like your health and stamina and stuff like that, but it also in the game you can there's like a material called mind core, and you use those mind cores to talk to a certain NPC, and from there you can also increase your health, your stamina, your mana, and your defense. But then you can also increase your stamina recovery, and you can also increase any type of element resistance as well. So there's even more like upgrading with your character with that, and you can only upgrade, you can only like craft like a certain amount of pills, because they basically are like pills that you have the guy craft for you, and you give him the mind cores for him to craft those pills, and you only can do like a certain amount. They tell you how much in the game, like how many you can actually craft until you're like maxed out on it. But I do like the fact that they give us even more upgrading with our character as well. So if you get to that point where you upgrade literally everything, your character is just going to be completely busted in the game. Now this next positive is really just like something that me personally, like I just really enjoyed. And it was just the fact that you don't lose XP, or you don't lose, like there's no like I said before, the difference with like a Souls game and Wukong is the fact that you don't collect souls or runes or anything like that. So it's all just XP, and when you die you don't lose any of it. You keep everything that you keep all the XP you have. So there really is like no consequence to dying. And me personally, I just appreciate that, because after like Elden Ring and the DLC for Elden Ring, I was always getting to a point in that game where I would just not care to get my runes back, because I just wanted to beat the boss and just move on with life. I didn't really care about getting my wounds back after a certain point. So I appreciate that I don't have to worry about that in this game. I could just fight the boss again and again and again until I finally beat it and then just move on. And I know I keep bringing up Elden Ring, but I'm just using Elden Ring as an example. I've played other Souls games or Souls-like games like Sekiro. I've beat that. I've played Wukong Fallen Dynasty, Jedi Fallen Order. Those Star Wars games are Souls-like as well. So I've played other games that's similar. I'm just using Elden Ring as an example. But as far as our next one that I wanted to put on my pros list, the music in this game was actually pretty good, especially during boss fights. And the funny thing is, certain or all transformations, because I've only used a couple, I haven't used every single transformation because all of them didn't really look that great to me, but the transformations also have their own music to them. When you transform, the music plays with whatever transformation you transform to. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. But the music, yeah, it's really good, especially during boss fights. It's really good. The music don't play that much when you're just exploring or just like out in the world, just, you know, like going through, trying to get to where you need to get to. But it'll do like a little noise, or it'll play like really soft music at times, but it don't play too much. But once you get into a boss fight or into like a really hectic fight, that's when the music plays, and the music sounds really good. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds really good to me. All right, so this one's a pretty simple one, but the graphics, I enjoyed the graphics. The game looks good, it looks nice. I enjoyed some of the views that they were showing me in the game. I'll talk about like the frame rate kind of stuff a little later, but as far as how the game looks to me, I liked how it looked. The graphics look good to me. The next one I put on my list is the voice acting. I actually like the voice acting in the game for the English version. I don't know what the Chinese version sounds like. It probably sounds way better than the English version since it is a Chinese game. But to me, from what I was hearing and what I was playing with the English version, it sounded good. It didn't sound like anything was wrong with it. It didn't sound like their voice actors were doing a terrible job or mediocre job. They all sound like they did a pretty fine job in my opinion. So I have to put the voice acting on the positive side of things because I enjoyed it.
Have you seen those nameless souls adrift on your path? Their wheels float aloft, never to fade. Shame, your god serves little purpose, and mine answers solely to me. I know a way to guide the souls, mend their paths, and set them free. It will aid you. Now, this is better. This god, though humble, may save the lost, banish their obsessions, and guide them.
Now it is time to get into the cons of the game, which is things that I did not like with the game. The first thing would be that how you upgrade armor is something I don't like with the game, because it's not, like I said, it's not that I don't like that you can upgrade armor. I just don't like how you go about upgrading armor. You have to unlock a secret hub in a secret area in order to upgrade armor, and you don't get that until like halfway through chapter 3 if you find it. So if you just play through the game and just do the main story, you'll never be able to upgrade armor ever. you'll never get the hub or anything like that. So I don't like the fact that they have that like lock behind upgrading armor, because I wish they had just like how they have us be able to just craft and upgrade weapons naturally at the shrine and craft armor at the shrine. I wish you could just naturally just upgrade your armor at the shrines as well, instead of having to go to a certain NPC in the secret hub area for all your ally NPCs in order to upgrade your armor. Plus, you don't even like, you just randomly meet the guy for the upgrade armor there. You apparently, from what I saw, he was supposed to be a boss in the trailers. He was supposed to be a boss that you come across in the game that you find, and then he ends up there. But in the actual game, he just ends up there, and you just like, wait, who are you? And then you're like, oh wait, I can upgrade armor from him, and he's the only place that you can actually upgrade armor. So at least, I mean, I understand it gives you a reason to go to the hub, but I mean, the other NPCs give you a reason to go to the hub too, so that really isn't much of a reason. So I kind of wish you could just upgrade armor like how you could craft armor and upgrade and craft new weapons as well. The next thing I have in the cons is the fact that you cannot knock enemies off of the cliffs, off the sides. You can't knock enemies off of anything really, but they can, well, you can if you're able to go there. But when it comes to like knocking them off a cliff to the point where they can die, you can't do that. But they sure as hell can do it to you. You can't even jump off a cliff and like kill yourself unless you get hit by an enemy. So it's like, I don't like that, because of the fact that it's like, I want to be able to knock them off like they can knock me off. They shouldn't have like some sort of like safety wall to where they can't get knocked off at all, but I can. So I wish like I wish that was different, where I could knock them off as well, because some of them literally be on the edge where you should be able to knock them off and you just can't. You just have to fight them there. The next thing we have, and it's actually something that I really did not like, is the invisible walls on every board, every chapter, every map. Bruh, like there would be an invisible wall when you're going somewhere. Like say, oh, can I go over here? And you'll go there and there'll be an invisible wall before you even hit the rock. Why can't the rock just be the wall? There's an invisible wall before you hit a rock. That is crazy, and that happens so much throughout every area where they just put invisible walls in front of rocks before you even get to it. But yeah, the invisible walls, just like I said on the last one, you can't even jump off a cliff because there's an invisible wall. You can't knock an enemy off because they have an invisible wall protection. So it's like, it's invisible walls all over the place in the game, and I do not like that at all. Just let us go where we want to go. We want to jump off, let us jump off. Whatever the case may be, let us find out we can't actually go to that destination, that area, because the rocks won't let us climb there. Not because there's some imaginary wall just right in front of the area and we're like, okay, that's how I know I can't go there. So like you said, just, I wish that was not in the game. Those invisible walls was a pain. They were, especially when you're trying to explore, they were a pain. Alright, so the next thing that I have for the cons is the story. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I was debating in my head if I should put this in the neutral or put this in the cons, but I finally decided I gotta put it in the cons because I only understood half of the game. And here's what I mean by that. Chapters 1, 2, especially 2, and 3, in my opinion, don't do a good job explaining what's going on in those chapters. When you get your little companion, I think his name is Baji, in like chapter 3, halfway through chapter 3, he does some explaining in chapters 4, 5, and 6 to the point where I understood what was going on in those chapters. So I do appreciate that. But and then for the chapters I did understand, which is 4, 5, and 6, I enjoyed the chapter, like the story in those chapters for what it was, with 6 being the whole story of you being a destined one leading up to this point. But without him, chapters 1, 2, and 3, I feel like they didn't do a good job. The story overall is lacking because, like I said, it's very basic. You're just you're just a destined one, or like a random monkey that ends up being a destined one who is job is to collect 5 relics for a certain thing that happens at the end of the game. But it's not like, I don't feel like the story is something you could truly get invested into, to be honest. But like I said before, it was explained poorly to me in chapters 1 to 3. Chapter 2, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what was going on in chapter 2. Felt like I was just going through the motions and just fighting bosses. I honestly do not know what exactly happened in chapter 2 at all. I don't remember nothing from it. They try to do a little bit explaining at the end of chapter 1, try to do a little bit explaining at the end of chapter 3, but I feel like the story, you start to actually understand what's going on in the individual chapters, for chapters 4, 5, and 6, once you get Baji. So yeah, that's the whole reason why I gotta put the story in the cons, is because I only understood half the game. They do try to like the stories, the in-between stories for the chapters, they do, like I said before, they do a little bit of explaining of like what was going on in that previous chapter, but for the most part, chapter 1 to 2 did some explaining about the boss in chapter 2. Chapters 2 to 3, I'll be honest, I don't think that chapter story, that little side story between story, had anything to do with much of anything. I just feel like that story was just so random. They were just telling just a random story. Chapters the in-between story with chapter 3 to 4 was basically telling you about like greed, because of the final boss in chapter 3. He was a greedy person, and then from there they do a better job to me with explaining what's going on in 4, 5, and 6. Especially 6 did a really good job explaining things. 4 and 5 did a little bit better job, but it was to the point where I started understanding, okay, what is actually going on in the chapter. Now, is it something that you're going to remember? Absolutely not. You're not going to remember the story in this game at all. It's not a story that had a lot of build up for certain things. You're not going to really get invested into the story like that. Thankfully, the gameplay, the gameplay is very, very good, to the point where like even if it has not a great story, you can still get through the game and enjoy the game. But that's the whole reason why I had to put it in my cons. Next up, something that I also really hated, especially during a boss fight, is the frame rate. Oh my god, bro. So it's not something that happens throughout the entirety of the game. It's every once in a while through the game, but so you're going to experience frame drop at some point multiple times throughout your playthrough. There was even a point where I was fighting a certain boss who was extremely hard, and the frame rate made the boss harder because it kept dropping while he was doing moves, to a point where I couldn't even react at times because there was no frame for me to react. Because I'm not even fighting just him, I'm fighting the frames now. I'm fighting him plus the frames. Like one moment he's in the air, the next moment he's on the floor. I'm just like, bro, like what's going on? So that's happened to me a couple of times during boss fights where the frame rate would drop. Sometimes while you're just exploring or you're just going through the story, the frame rate will drop. So the frame rate drops is there. I've seen it where people had instant frame rate drops at the beginning of the game in the tutorial area. So it's going to happen. Now, it's not gonna say before, it's not going to happen throughout the entirety of the game, but it is going to happen every now and again where the frame rate will dip at times. You're going to see it at some point. It's not your PC or your system, it's literally just the game. All right, y'all, so that's pretty much it for this review. final verdict, I had a lot of fun with the game. The game was really good to me. The exploration, the bosses, the secrets to discover, the combat, it was all like really fun to play. Would I recommend this game to anybody? Absolutely. I think the game is a really good game. What would I rate the game? If I had to rate it, I would rate it an 8. I would rate it at least an 8. That honestly, I think an 8 is really good for this game. It's just some things that, you know, brung down the score for me, especially the story. But other than that, as you guys can see, or as you guys saw, the positives definitely outweigh the negatives, so that's a really good thing. But yeah, 8 is what I would go for the rating for this game. So yeah, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please let me know by giving the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see any more videos from me, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.